Hey, what's going on folks? My name's Gray, this is Consoletronix, and I've talked at length in the past about how Sega's home consoles, from Master System to Dreamcast, left their mark on me. But while Sega won many significant victories over rivals such as Nintendo and even Sony, they would ultimately lose the console wars. But if there was one arena in gaming in which they stood unrivaled, it was in the arcades. And today, I'm going to be taking a look at one of their standout coin-op titles from the golden age of arcades and beyond. So join me in the fast lane of nostalgia with my Outrun series review.
Get ready.
You know, a lot of people question why I and many others cling to the past and play retro video games as much as we do. And to me at least, the answer's very simple. Fun. Outrun was developed by Sega legend Yu Suzuki to be first and foremost fun to play. Combined with great graphics and sprite scaling effects that were becoming a trademark of Sega games, not to mention the excellent soundtrack provided by Hiroshi Kawaguchi, which itself has passed into gaming folklore, and you begin to see why we keep going back to it. It's a timeless piece of gaming's history. As much as I would like to show off to you each and every home conversion of the 1986 arcade hit which graced every system you could think of, from Commodore 64, Spectrum, Amiga, MSX, PC Engine to Sega Saturn. For me though, the excellent Master System port was my introduction to a series that's been a constant in my life to this very day. Still playable, still addictive, and still one of the best races on the Master System. A classic. Sega may have ruled the roost when it came to arcades, with Yu Suzuki lending his considerable talents to many 80s classics such as Hang On, Afterburner, Space Harrier and Power Drift, but on the domestic front, their home console, the Master System, never got off the starting line in its native Japan or the US. But in Europe, Sega's arcade success was fueling sales of their 8-bit machine, so an original installment in the Outrun series was put into production. And while at its core it's a shameless Chase HQ knockoff with you ramming bad guys off the road, its simple pick up and play controls mean it's some good old fashioned 8-bit road raging at its best.
Good luck.
The first true follow-up to Outrun had big boots to fill when it hit arcades in the spring of 1989, but with Yu Suzuki again behind the wheel, expectations were high, and I'm pleased to report, not misplaced either. The intervening 3 years between titles had seen arcade technology move on quite a bit, and Sega made sure it was on screen for all to see. And while for most of its existence it's been overshadowed by its far more popular predecessor, make no mistake, Turbo Outrun has enough horsepower under its hood to satisfy even the most demanding speed freak. An underrated gem.
Automatic. Get ready.
Having little access to arcades growing up meant that small screen versions of the big arcade titles were very welcome to me, and I was increasingly excited to see the blast processed port of Turbo Outrun running on the Mega Drive. Sadly, what we got was a jerky, overly simplistic conversion, which neither pushed the Mega Drive or helped Turbo Outrun's reputation. But while the wheels may have come off the 16-bit ports, over on the 8-bit racetrack, the series would burn rubber once again. Not counting the special 3D edition of Outrun, which required the goofy looking 3D glasses peripheral, Outrun Europa would round out a trilogy of titles bearing the Outrun name, both on the Master System and Sega Game Gear. Outrun Europa, unfortunately for fans, despite letting you control all manner of different vehicles, isn't worth the bother. A big disappointment, more so because the potential for something much better was there. Avoid. It feels very surreal to come back and play this futuristic Mega Drive exclusive entry in the series at the tail end of 2019, especially when I played it first in 1994. But with the series stalling with its last few console entries, Sega decided an update for the 90s was needed. But in their quest to try something different, they only ended up moving further away from what made the original so very good. Outrun 2019 isn't terrible, it just becomes very samey very quickly. Worth picking up if you can find it cheap though.
This program is brought to you by Sega. Yorium car number 1. Ready, go!
What's hot and what's not changes very quickly in video games, and with the release of Virtua Fighter and more importantly Virtua Racing, both developed by Yu Suzuki, I didn't even know of Outrunner's existence until a Mega Drive port got the review treatment in magazines. But we'll talk about that in a minute, because despite being 2D, just as every company including Sega are making the shift to 3D, Outrunners holds up surprisingly well even today, and for a long time was without question my favourite racing game, which makes what I'm about to say next very difficult indeed. Because Outrunners on the Mega Drive is very probably the worst driving game I've ever played, and when you consider I played this monstrosity long before the arcade version, I thought Sega needed an intervention to stop them embarrassing themselves further between ports like this and the 32X. The only positive thing I can say about this game is that it was never officially released in Europe. Avoid like the plague. With the Outrun franchise, like many other Sega IPs, being mothballed for a number of years, fans held out little hope for further Ferrari F40 high-speed adventures. But Sega, after their fall as a console manufacturer, got the kick up the arse they so badly needed to start producing great games again. And the irony of all this was it seemed whichever of the big three platforms, the PlayStation 2, original Xbox or GameCube, that could court Sega to their side may just become the winner of the 6th generation. Sega wisely played it afield, but seemed to develop a special relationship with Microsoft, and in 2003 a home port of the outstanding Outrun 2 wound up Xbox exclusive. A PS2 and PSP version with more features, cars and tracks would follow later, but whatever system you play this on, just play it. It is one of the greatest games I've ever played. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the finish line in my Outrun series retrospective. I trust you've been suitably entertained, and hopefully it might encourage you to go back and play some of the entries in the series you maybe missed out on, or perhaps haven't played for years. My name's Gray, this has been a turbocharged episode of Consoletronix. Lots more videos coming your way very soon, so thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.